Hey guys, it's Justin here, and today I've got the review for you of the GoPro HD Hero 3 Plus, what GoPro calls the smaller, lighter, and mightier version of its best-selling predecessor, the Hero 3. And in front of us, we've got the Hero 3 Plus Black Edition, and I also want to let you guys know that I will be putting all the test video clips near the end of the video, as there is a ton to run through in terms of the features and functionality of the Hero 3 Plus itself. So let's cover some of the improvements and the specs of the Hero 3 Plus. First off, it is 20% thinner and lighter than its previous generation in its casing. It has a new sharper lens that is claiming to give you a 33% increase in sharpness and a 2 times reduction in image artifacts. They've also claimed to improve the audio in the Hero 3 Plus even in high wind conditions. They've also introduced something called Super View, which is able to get you the widest perspective you've ever been able to get on a GoPro before, and also a new auto low light mode, which is able to get you better image quality in darker conditions. And one of the bigger improvements I feel is the overall size. They have now made it 20% thinner and lighter in its construction, but that is almost all thanks to the housing redesign. You can tell from the side that it is just much more seamless, and the lenses and screws and everything have been taken out, and in general it just gives it a much more seamless look and feel to it, but also reducing the weight while they're at it. Again, on the front side, you could definitely tell that they have significantly shrunk down the size of the Hero 3 Plus housing, but if you happen to have a 3, you can also purchase the 3 Plus housing separately and pop it in that, since the 3 Plus and the 3 does not have any size difference whatsoever. The overall form factor between them is exactly the same. Which leads me to describe the upgrade from the Hero 3 to the 3 Plus more of an S iteration, going by Apple terms, including some of the improvements that I had mentioned before, but also stuff like 30% better battery life, 4 times better Wi-Fi, sharper lenses. However, it is still compatible with all of GoPro's standard mounts and accessories. So now we're going to take a look at the physical unit of the Hero 3 Plus, starting out with the lens. It features an ultra-sharp 6-element aspherical glass lens, a fixed f2.8 aperture, and like I mentioned, that brings you 33% improved image sharpness compared to the Hero 3 Black Edition. So taking a look at the side ports, you've got your mini HDMI, which you're able to connect to a TV, for example. You also have your mini USB, that is for charging, and you can also purchase an adapter separately from GoPro that would enable you to use any 3.5mm external microphone. And you also have your SD card slot, which requires you to have a Class 10 SD card up to 64GB, and thankfully GoPro has provided me with a 64GB card. And as you can see here, it is a very versatile camera if you did not know that already. Very streamlined design and very compact, allowing you to put it in hard to reach places, for example. And GoPro does have a whole wide range of accessories and housings, such as the frame housing if at times you want to use it outside of its protective housing. So now we're going to take a look at the full body of the Hero 3 Plus. It pretty much stays the same in terms of the button placement from the first generation, and on the side you got all your ports. It also includes a port cover. On the back you also have a port for plug-in accessories such as the additional battery or your LCD, which is now a touchscreen, and there's just a clip for it. And also you have your Wi-Fi buttons. On the front you have your power and mode buttons, and on the top you have your record button. On the back, of course, you have your removable battery, and if you're going to be using this for a full day, for example, I definitely recommend that you purchase a few more backup batteries. So there you can go, you take that out, and it is a 1180 milliamp hour battery, and it should be able to film for quite a few hours. However, you do have to keep in mind that if you have certain accessories such as the LCD backpack, you will probably require more, as the battery will be taken up a little bit faster. So now we're going to take a closer look at the housing, and this is what really makes it smaller than the Hero 3. The housing is 20% thinner and lighter, if I didn't tell you guys that already, and the standard version is waterproof at 40 meters or 131 feet, and there is also a dive version that can go underwater for 60 meters. So it is overall very easy to just put your GoPro in, of course, and you can see that the new latch is just all one piece. There isn't any separate buttons that you have to click around. There actually isn't any buttons that you have to click at all. It is simply just one latch that goes over it. So I'm definitely a pretty big fan of that, but at first it does take some getting used to. And one thing I really love the most is that the buttons are so much easier to press. As you know, with the previous version of the GoPros, the buttons at times were just a little bit finicky and hard to access, but I think the buttons on the 3 Plus work so much better. On the back, it pretty much looks the same, and you also have the option to use your skeleton housing, which is also included if you aren't going underwater or just want some better audio. But I have to say that they have done a great job in terms of the housing. It is much more streamlined looking. There aren't any screws that you could see on the front of it, and a much more minimalistic look and feel to it, trying to make it as small as they possibly could have, but still remaining the same waterproofing and durability that the GoPros have originally been very well known for. So you also have the option to purchase something like the stealth housing, which is an all black matte housing that just kind of hides it a little bit better. So they just released that a few days ago, and they also have the frame housing, which is pretty much taking it out of the casing but still allow you to use it with the mounts that they have. So now let's move on and show you guys some of the software traits of the Hero 3 Plus. The interface remains pretty much the same as before. You're able to shoot in a whole bunch of video modes as expected. You also have the photo mode, the time-lapse mode, the burst photo mode. So those are all great for action sports. Of course, that is primarily what people would use GoPros for. And moving through the settings menu, you have your options to set your resolution, your frame rate options, which obviously depend based on your resolution. Also your field of view. You can also set the image resolution for pictures. You have your 12 megapixels, 7 or 5, and you can also change the field of view on that, whether you want it wide, medium, and moving on, you also have your burst photo mode, and you could pick the frames per second. It can do up to 30 frames per second now, which is really cool in terms of the taking photos. So if you're doing action sports, like I said, that is going to be very good for that. You can also do time lapse, have it take pictures every half a second, for example, and you also have other options like turning the light on or off, the beep, the looping, for example. And also, you have the option to set some manual settings. As you know, GoPros for the most part are just automated. They set everything for you, but for some people, you may want to set the ISO, the white balance, for example, and ProTune gives you some of those custom presets that you can make yourself. The app makes it very easy to navigate that. And you also have your other capture settings, your wireless settings, which can also be accessed by tapping the button on the left side. So I think they've made it a very simple interface for any user to be able to navigate very easily. So now we're going to show you some of the wireless functions of the Hero 3 Plus through the app, and all you got to do is tap the left button, which is the Wi-Fi button, and once you see the blue light start blinking, that means the Wi-Fi functionality is on. Now we're going to show you guys the app first and then show you guys your remote. So all you got to do is go over to your phone, make sure you have the GoPro app downloaded, whether it is on your Android or your iPhone. And by doing so, connect to the network through the Wi-Fi settings. You can also customize the name and the password for your individual GoPro. And heading over to the GoPro app after we have connected to the network, you've got your connect and control. And what that allows you to do is have full control over your GoPro like you would on the physical GoPro itself. So if you did not want to shell out the extra money to buy a LCD display to monitor your video, the app is a great way to do so. It makes it very easy to control everything you would as well. And by doing so, you have the option to change your video resolution, your frame rate. You have all of the options. So there really isn't any limitation with controlling the functions from your app. So moving down through these settings, you have your field of view, low light, photo resolution, continuous shot, time lapse, upside down. So for example, if you have your GoPro mounted upside down, you can have it flip it over automatically. And by turning on ProTune, like I said, they give you all the manual functions you may want, the sharpness, exposure, and you can have custom presets in that category. So for some people, you may want to tweak with the manual settings. And you also have all your other options such as your sound, your LED light, and stuff like that, your wireless control, battery level, even SD card capacity, and also the custom name of the network we've created for our GoPro. So I definitely think the app is something that a lot of people will be using. So now moving on to the remote, you know that with the Black Edition of the Hero 3 and 3 Plus, they do include the remote, which is a $100 edition. So I think the remote is very handy because sometimes you might have your GoPro mounted very high or on the front of your vehicle, and obviously it is very inconvenient to have to go out there and start recording, for example, or change your modes. So the remote can be strapped to your wrist or just put in your pocket, and you have all your settings as you would navigate the menu through on your GoPro itself. So I think that this is definitely something very handy and something that I use a lot. So I know that I left it up till now. There is definitely a lot to cover in terms of the overall functionality of the Hero 3 Plus. So let's finally move on to the video quality. It is able to record in high frame rate, 1440p at up to 48 frames per second, 1080p up to 60 frames per second, 960p up to 100 frames per second, and 720p at up to 120 frames per second. They also have some ultra high resolution quality capture that can capture 4K at up to 15 frames per second and 2.7K at 30 frames per second. However, the clips that we'll be showing you in this video are going to be shot at 1080p, as that is what the majority of people will be shooting at, and since this video is 1080p, that is what's going to give you the best representation. So I hope you guys enjoy the clips. So I'd like to thank some friends who sent me in their clips while they're using their GoPro Hero 3 Plus on a school trip, and you can see here that the GoPro is great for using in the snow. And I'd also like to thank a friend Mitchell, who is from California, for sending me some of his clips of the Hero 3 Plus Black, driving around in California and going skiing. So I decided to mount it on my goalie helmet and take it to practice, possibly testing the durability of it while I play in net, and I also mounted it behind my hockey net while I was playing street hockey, as I do see a lot of teams mounting it around the same place during their games in the NHL to get a cool perspective. So from those clips, hopefully you could see really the versatility of the GoPro and the fact that it could still capture some great videos. And it is also worth mentioning that GoPro sells a whole range of attachments on their website, from chest mounts, wrist mounts, head mounts, suction cup mounts for your surfboard, for example. You can virtually mount these things anywhere, and it really takes advantage of the versatility and great video quality you can get from such a small and durable camera. But to conclude, I really have to say the GoPro does an amazing job. The video quality looks great, and some people would not really require some of the features on the black version, so you could go ahead with the silver version, but I feel that for any athlete out there who wants to record video or action video, the GoPro is something that I really can't go wrong with and something that I can really recommend, and personally I wish I had more chances to use it. But aside from that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'd like to give a huge thanks to GoPro for sending us out for reviewing purposes, and let me know down in the comment section if you plan on getting a GoPro, you may already have one, and what you really like to use it for. But aside from that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all in the next one.